Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to be going through the Dungeonborne patch notes for early access, which has been announced that it's going to be completely free to play. So, early access for Dungeonborne is going to be completely free to play. That's going to be a little bit later on in the video that I talk about that. But for now, I just want to hop straight into the exciting stuff. So 1 day countdown to launch. The second half of our Day 0 patch notes is here, including class balance, weapon balance, quality of life changes, and more. Read below for the full details. You can read all of this if you want. You can pause it and read it, but I'm not going to read this bit because not much really is said. So I'm just going to go straight to the actual meat of this, really. Class balance active skill selection system. Players can now choose and replace class active skills, starting with Fighter, Death Knight, Rogue, Cryomancer, and Priest. We plan to add new active skills for every class in the future. Replaceable active skills are categorized into Q skills and E skills, so you cannot select 2 Q skills or 2 E skills at the same time. So that's interesting. You're not going to be able to replace like a Q skill with an E skill, or an E skill with a Q skill. You're only going to be able to replace Q with Q and E with E, which is interesting, and it probably makes it a lot easier to balance as well, so all of the skills should still kind of maintain their fairness. One thing about Dark and Darker in particular is that there's just too many things in the game, and you just don't know what someone like has on them after a couple of seconds of fighting them. You still have absolutely no idea what they've got in their like back pocket or something, and having only like 2 abilities on each class is definitely going to make things a lot simpler, and it's not going to overcomplicate anything, but there is going to be more kind of diverse options for different play styles, so I think that's definitely a good thing. Fighter added 2 new replaceable active skills. Fighters can now select Mithril Zealot's active skills, reduce the duration for Mithril Zealot's E skill Inspire, and to accommodate the new skill options, made adjustments to some passives. So it's got some adjustments to the passives for the fighter. I'm not actually too sure what the Mithril Zealot's active skill was, but that was going to be in the game. A lot of people watching this are probably going to be familiar with what the skill was. I can't remember myself. But if you went into the Mithril order section and you picked the equivalent to the fighter in the Mithril order, this is going to be their skill that you're now going to have on just the normal fighter, and you'll be able to choose from it. Death Knight added 1 new replaceable active skill. You guessed it, it's the OG Soul Shroud that can be toggled on and off at any time. As a trade-off, the toggleable Soul Shroud will have slightly lower damage, significantly increase the effective range of Grasp of the Grave. Try pulling those enemy casters right to your face. So, first up, we've got Soul Shroud. For anyone that doesn't know what this is, it's pretty similar to their current AoE ability. It's just like an AoE ability that you can turn on and off at any time instead of, you turning it on and then it lasts a certain amount and then it has a cooldown. You can just turn it on or off at any time. But as far as I can remember, it's pretty similar to the current AoE that's there, except I don't think you had to, like, crouch down on the ground and put your fist on the floor to use it. I think it just kind of triggered straight away. So that's going to be cool to be there. And then also, the range of Grasp of the Grave has been significantly increased, which is great, because I really liked the Death Knight, but the range on Grasp of the Grave really just sucked quite a lot, so that getting buffed is definitely very good, because, like, before it was completely pointless, really. Like, why have kind of a ranged attack if it doesn't actually have any range, you know? So that definitely sounds like a good change. For the Rogue, added 2 new replaceable active skills. Rogues can now select Mithril Shadow's active skills. Slightly increased damage for Mithril Shadow's Q skill, Quick Blades. Added a new skill, allowing rogues to instantly enter stealth for a shorter duration and gain a movement speed boost. To accommodate the new skill options, made adjustments to some passives. For example, Toxic Cloak now allows you to enter stealth not only after petrifying an enemy, but also when hitting an enemy with Quick Blades. Added a new passive, Stealth Break Venom, dealing 150 poison damage over time on the first hit after breaking stealth. This passive aims to restore the rogue's assassin identity. Stealth triggered by the Evaporate passive also works with this. Okay, alright, so that's going to be like a pretty good passive then. Stealth will now be completely invisible when far enough away from enemies, and Petrifying Poison can now be applied to crossbow bolts by default. Oh, that's interesting, because that was a passive before. and now it's no longer a passive, it's just something that you can like automatically do, which actually is quite cool. So if you're at range, like if you want to get rid of a ranged caster or something, you can do that. So that's going to be quite interesting. For the Swordmaster, increase Psionic Blades cooldown when only 1 or 2 swords are consumed. Psionic Blades are no longer restore life by default and will require the Healing Scabbard passive to restore life. Reduce the tracking range of Psionic Blades. I'm not too sure how much this has been reduced by, but if it's a lot, that's probably not great. And if it's just a little bit, I would say that's fair enough, because they did have some pretty crazy range on them. And also, cooldown for 1 or 2 swords does make sense, because I think before they only had like 1 or 2 seconds of cooldown, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but now they're going to have more, which does make sense. For the Druid, significantly increased Panther Form's basic attack damage. When the Trent is summoned, it will immediately attack once. That's great. That's very good. Yeah, I like that, because the Trent kind of sucked otherwise. But if you pull it up and, you know, someone's standing directly next to it, that's going to do a decent chunk of damage to them. And also the basic attack damage for the Panther form is very good as well, because that just didn't really do anything, and now it's going to. So this definitely seems like the Druid's going to deal a lot more damage than it did before. Increase Trent's health and damage, and increase the damage of Shadow Assault. Yeah, okay. So Druid is going to be very, very strong. And then obviously the 4,000 character limit was reached here, so we're going to go into the second part of this. For the Pyromancer, added a casting interval I'll say that again. Added a casting interval to stage 1 Pyroblast to prevent rapid spamming. So anyone that played Pyromancer, or anyone that played against Pyromancer a lot in the beta or the playtest or whatever it was, knew that Pyromancy was really strong because of rapid firing stage 1 Pyroblast, and it seems like that is no longer going to be there. Added a damage fall off for stage 2 Pyroblast, significantly reducing its damage at long range. So it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to hurl this someone far away. This is an interesting change. I mean, if you're a caster, it is the longer range class. So I'm not too sure why that's there. But, you know, okay. Reduce the projectile speed of stage 2 Pyroblast, allowing the skill to be dodged at long range. Like, yeah, if it was just this change, that would have made sense, because, you know, it's going to be for medium to close range. But if you miss the shot at a longer range, then it should punish you more, because then obviously you're going to have a cooldown on it again. So this one makes sense. Don't really super understand the damage fall off for it though, because if you can dodge it at a long range, then you know you did well, and then they have cooldown, so they can't use another one. But if you mess up and you don't dodge it, or if they have like a really, really good shot, then I think it should be fair that it does lots of damage. But I guess not. Adjusted a few underused passive skills as well, so I guess more details are gonna be out for that when the Pyromancer, well, when we're actually able to play the game. Cryomancer added 2 new replaceable active skills. Some keyword hints for the new skills: solo combat capability, kitting, caster tank, information gathering. Right. Ice Storm now refunds some cooldown and soul energy when interrupted. Okay. Slightly increased Ice Storm's damage and reduced its base cooldown. Okay. So for the Cryomancer, they're actually not telling us what the skills are, but there's going to be solo combat capability, kiting, caster tank, and information gathering. So it seems like this is going to be the tanky caster, so maybe they'll have some other thing that can, you know, reduce their damage that they take or increase their health. Again, imagine having 2 abilities that could increase your health. That would be insane. And information gathering, I'm not too sure how that one would work. That would be interesting, like a scout type ability for a caster. Maybe you can like shoot a bolt of ice and it will like scatter about. Then if someone's in that area, it will make like a crunching sound or something. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and find out whenever the game is released. Well, in like a day. Priest added 2 new replaceable active skills. Priests can now select Mithril Devout's active skills, increase the healing and damage of Divine Guidance, and added a short cooldown. Yeah, that's very fair. So they're increasing the healing and damage of it, because it both heals and does damage to opponents. But they've also added a cooldown so you can't spam it. I think that's very, very fair. I think that's a good change, because it used to be kind of a nightmare to kill a priest if they're just constantly healing. It just takes a long time and really drags the fight out, and if they've got 2 teammates, it's probably not going to go very well for you. If you're just 1v1ing the priest and the priest is just spamming heals, and you're constantly following them, and then you're also constantly taking damage from their healing, that fight probably isn't going to go very well for you. But I think that that's a very, very good change that should probably kind of make 1v1s with the priest a lot easier. Well, a lot less annoying for sure anyway. Reworked the calculation formulas for healing and shielding. Now they can fully benefit from weapon damage bonuses and the percent damage affix, just like Pyromancer's Pyroblast. This will significantly increase Priest's healing output and scaling. Oh, that was the end of the sentence. Okay, well, alright. Reduce Priest's base health, so they're going to be a little bit squishier, rather, which I think is fair. Weapon balance. Sword and shield. Slightly increase the charge up time for charge attacks. Increase the damage of the first hit of sword and shield's basic attack, while reducing the damage of the second and third hits. Kind of interesting. I didn't really see a whole lot of people using one-handed swords, but okay. Two-handed sword, dual swords, mace, and shield. Increased damage by 20 to 30%. Oh my god. Currently, melee characters, except sword and shield and daggers, have to spend a lot of effort to close the gap and reach caster classes. You want to ensure that once they manage to get past the front line and engage in close combat, they can pose a more significant and immediate threat to their targets. Wow. 20 to 30%, that's insane. That's a lot of damage. I think that's gonna be super powerful. I don't know about that one. That's kind of insane. Yes, if you pair this with the Death Knight's grab, if that has more range and you just instantly drag someone up to you, and then you just melt them with the extra 30% damage on the sword, I think they're just dead. I don't think you can do anything against that. That's insane, because the two-handed sword also staggers the AI NPCs. So it's also just really, really easy to take out NPCs with the two-handed sword, because it staggers them, and then you hit twice more. And if you do 2 combos of that, or 6 hits in total, they're just dead. But that's a very, very large increase in the damage dealt there. That's very interesting. Anyway, for the crossbow, increased damage by 20%, which is fair, because the reload time is pretty long, so if you're whipping it out and then having to reload it and then shooting someone, it makes sense that it should do damage, so I think that's a fair change. Equipment balance. Slightly increased the stat values of magic equipment and further increased the stat values of epic plus equipment. Lowered the activation threshold for most set affixes and enhanced the effects of tier 3 set affixes. Enhanced the effects of some item affixes such as life recovered on first opening of chests, and added elemental damage to attacks to make them more fun and valuable. Legendary quality orbs now have 100% blocked damage reduction. Yeah, okay, so if you get your hands on a legendary orb, it's going to be a proper shield, which is kind of cool. Others, new server regions, South America and US East, increase base movement speed by 20% for all classes. Okay, gonna make the game a little bit faster paced, which is interesting. I kind of liked how slow it was, but also sometimes some of the classes did feel a little bit slow. And I also like that it's for all classes and not just for some of the classes, so we'll see how much faster the game feels when we're able to play it, but I think all around that's probably going to be a good change and probably make the game feel a lot snappier. And also it's going to mean that all classes are going to be able to dodge the NPC or AI's attacks a lot easier as well, because obviously you can move away faster from their attacks, so that should make dodging and things like that a lot easier than it was before. Increase the loot speed of chests from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, okay. Reduce duration and health of stone walls created by the stone shaping flask, slightly enhanced, oh, that's one part of it, and then also slightly enhanced slow effect of thunderclap flask. I mean, the stone walls didn't have much health already, so them being reduced is kind of interesting. I guess it's just to really only slow your enemy down for a very short amount of time, which I guess is fair, and then slightly enhanced the thunderclap flask as well. Fixed a camera issue, significantly improving hit detection accuracy for melee weapons. Okay, I didn't really have an issue with melee weapon hit detection accuracy, but, more of it is always good. Reduced respawn speed of one-handed swords in competitive mode. Okay, so there's all the patch notes. The only one I think is a little bit weird is this. Increased two-handed sword damage by 20 to 30% is a lot of percent, and it also sounds like the Pyromancer got nerfed quite a lot as well. So I feel like mainly it's the Pyromancer's fault that the two-handed swords are getting buffed, because if you weren't really going to get close to a Pyromancer before, and so they were just going to mess you up with their spammy fireballs. But now I feel like The Pyromancer is probably still going to be okay, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to get close to them, and then when you do get close to them, you're going to do a lot more damage to them than before. But not just the Pyromancer, also like the Druid and the Cryomancer and any caster. So, I don't know, we'll have to see how that 20 to 30% damage increase actually is in-game. Maybe it's only going to take like one less hit than it would before, I'm not sure. But it definitely sounds like that might be a bit strong. But anyway, the big news that I mentioned at the start of the video is that Dungeonborne is going to be completely free to play. You can read all of this if you want. You can pause it and read through it. I'm not going to read through all of this because there's not a lot in it, really. But basically, the game is going to be completely free to play, and there's only going to be 2 things that you can buy, I think. One of them is going to be a stash tab, so you're going to be able to just, like, buy more inventory space, basically. And then there's also going to be, like, some type of torch and something you can buy. Let me look for it. Oh, well, first of all, to be able to auction stuff, so everyone can trade, like usual, but to be able to auction stuff, you're going to have to buy an auction membership pass. And then the third and final thing is that there is a Mithril Edition DLC for $10, which includes the Mithril Cloak and Mithril Torch, which are 2 exclusive, purely cosmetic skins. So that's all the stuff that you're going to be able to buy, but you're going to have all of the classes, all of the weapons, all of the base game content completely for free. And then the only things that you're going to buy is just going to be like quality of life stuff, like the inventory space and the cosmetic stuff, really. And also the auction one, which is a little bit weird, but it also doesn't really make a huge difference for most players, I would say. I don't know how many people were just auctioning stuff in the playtest. So again, you can read all of this if you want to, but there is all the news. With a lot of exciting changes to the classes. The movement speed sounds nice. It's probably going to make the game feel a lot snappier, which is quite cool, while still being like completely fair and balanced like it was before, and still kind of slow, because obviously the movement speed of everyone has been increased, so it's still going to be like as slow as it was before in the fights, I would say. Maybe it'd be a little bit faster, actually, I'm not sure. But yeah, there you go. It's going to be exciting. It's going to launch either tomorrow or the day after, depending on where you are. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.